Awesome.
All right, I think we can start now.
All right, sounds good.
All right, hey guys, sorry for the weak start if the stream recorded right before then.
Yeah.
I'm PM Matcher, we have Jay with us.
Hey.
We wanted to pause just a little bit in the beginning of the stream to make sure that everyone, you know, is going to catch everything we talk about this stream. So thank you guys for coming back. We just released Foundation Part 2, what was it? Was it yesterday?
I think, yeah, yesterday.
Yeah,
really.
we just, I know, I'm just, yeah, so we just released it yesterday. You know, we're really excited that everyone got to play it. I'm going to preface this whole stream by this is obviously the small patch before the next one, which is going to be really big. We're not going to, well, let me look at our thing. We're not going to reveal anything today about the next patch, really, but we are going to be in the next couple of dev streams. So the dev stream will be your spot to be the first people to find out what's in the new patch. We already have like this whole plan through all of April, which basically since this is when we're going to reveal this nice juicy detail to you guys. So please watch these streams, and I think today we're going to really focus on talking about what you guys think about the patch, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we have a bunch of questions. We've been, as normal, we've been kind of reading the forums and going through all the feedback and gauging your guys' reactions.
So yeah, the one thing I'd like to say for people watching is if you look in the corner where this is one of the things we're doing every week, we have David DeCoster. He's one of our environment artists, and he is actually, I think this is, I think this is actually a concept, and I don't think this is him. I think they got the name wrong here. So I apologize if the name is wrong here, but you're either going to be seeing someone drawing
right.
the pet shop stand or modeling it. I'm pretty sure drawing it, so I'll apologize, and we'll get the right name out, and we'll put it on the YouTube channel for who drew this pet shop stand. But yeah, so yes, there will be a pet shop stand in the tavern, and you're about to see it drawn in real time here. So
kind of exciting. Kind of exciting.
Yeah, exactly. So guys, if you have feedback about the latest patch, please throw it in the comments. We'd love to kind of start there, and maybe if you just want to give a summary of what you kind of seen people saying so far off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, I think reception's pretty okay. A lot of people have some questions about the ability balance and about why we made the decisions that we made, which is, I do have to say that I am kind of prepping a state of the Foundation similar to what I did for Foundation 1 for Foundation 2.
Sorry, 1 second, John. Is the drawing thing working and streaming live? It looks like...
Alright, maybe it's just so small I can't see the drawing happening. Oh yeah, it is.
Okay.
Oh, it's going?
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think reception overall is good. I think a lot of players are at least excited that hard mode is in, whether or not it's it's a smash bang success or whether or not they think there's still some improvements to be made. It's sort of like our it's as always it's and hey look, we're playing some hard mode.
Yeah. So actually. I don't want to interrupt the feedback,
Sure.
but we have a really cool idea, and I love all your guys' opinions on what we're going to do for playing Finish. It's going to be solo, right? So what we're going to do is iPass Butter is going to... Oh, you're already cheating. He's down level. You got to remove him.
Well, I'm not going to use him.
No, you got to remove him. You got to be all new.
Oh, God.
So what we're doing is that he's going to play through the game on hard mode, solo.
Yeah.
Just straight through. Like, he may have to replay a level because you can put someone else in your deck that's level 1.
I don't have any other level
Just kill one of your big guys.
Wow.
On the stream, do it, man. We talked about it.
Oh, it's gonna happen.
Do
I
it.
made level 1s. Look, I have level 1s.
Alright, you have 3 level 1s?
No.
No, we gotta kill one of
Alright,
them.
here we go. Oh, this hurts.
Oh no.
Just don't show people how to make the character invisible.
Oh, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't show them that, but delete one of it.
So we're kind of excited because I know we've had
delete.
Yeah, I got that.
Alright.
We've had a lot of feedback on hard mode from our internal RQA, and really thank you guys for that, and some internal playtests as well. And so we're kind of now getting some early feedback from the community on what the experience is like for them, both from some early game players and definitely from some high end players.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of we're still kind of collecting metrics and still kind of getting opinions and feedback and stuff like that. And definitely, as always, our sort of comment about these kind of things is that we're here to make your play experience, you guys the players, the best possible. And so these are always, if there are any major improvements, stuff like that, we'll definitely be communicating that stuff to you guys and then patching that in later on.
And I think we actually have our first question from the comments here. It's from Israfin, which is he says, I thought hard mode loot was supposed to be 10% better, but so far, he says the drop on legendaries only drop up to 162, but the old legendaries were 157 max. Is that true or false? Or
that should be it. So the way that the stats work is that it's actually a range, and so it'll be like, the legendary range might be 75 to 100. I'm just gonna give it a base example. And so what we did in code for the 10% is that we took whatever number rolled and then just multiplied it by 110, and then that was the final number. And so those results, like, you'll see the full 10% bonus on a perfect roll. Otherwise, there'll be some sort of like math changes there, and the maths are good. So we very thoroughly tested that, and so we know that it's always going to be 10%. But that number, it's not like a flat add; it's a multiplier. So if it's less than the max, and there's going to be a certain mathematical threshold for that roll where there won't be a noticeable difference. But once you get kind of to the top end of that roll, then you'll see that. So that's kind of the nature of our RNG itemization.
Yeah. So we also have, there are obviously some bugs. I think that was one of the features that Josh put in the patch notes. You can thank Isom for the really funny patch notes. And someone brought through that, yes, there is a way to combine characters into Frankenstein characters. And yes, it will be fixed, but it is not fixed.
I haven't seen that. I kind of want a video.
Yeah, I mean, there are videos and people.
I'll go find it.
So
I'll go find it.
I think Chris and QA has replicated it, like they know how to do it now. So cool. So back to the feedback. Maybe like, what have you seen people say about the inventory so far, and kind of what is your response to that?
There's been overall, I think that the inventory has been very well received. The highlights and the colors and the work that our tech art department, especially like Josh Javahari, has been really amazing. Really kind of making the items pop, making the icons really good. We think that visual experience is nice. Overall with the widening, we've seen that the bag slots and space has been very well received. The other one that consistently comes up is like the upgrading and getting more space for bags already kind of purchased. We're working on that kind of thing. We know that that's something coming down the line. We're sort of tech limited as for how quickly we can kind of get that in, and so that's. So I guess overall, really, like, it's been fairly positive. There's been some negative feedback, and we take that and like definitely consider it and put it into our feedback kind of minds and then pockets, and like, this person didn't like it and these are the reasons why, and we try and think about how we can improve that. But I do know that the sell all per bag is like hugely happy. Like, everybody's happy with that.
Yeah.
The one thing we have gotten a lot of feedback on the TIB, and so when we have some plans for that, we kind of mentioned some different things. We are going to have some improvements, at least to that experience, things that we think are improvements to it, and we will let you know when we're ready to kind of release those. Those are pretty early prototype and kind of idea concept phase right now.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. So the inventory was pretty widely received. We did have, there's a survey, if you guys haven't taken it already, you can find it in the Dungeon Defenders 2 launcher, and I believe probably next week we'll be revealing the results of those surveys. And
more feedback.
Exactly, more feedback, so it's a really great thing to get. In the meantime, I think we're going to start with some questions from here. And obviously, if you guys have any questions, we want to keep taking it through the comment section as well. We'll probably commentate on hard mode as I pass butterflies to do it. Now, I have beaten this. Have you beaten this level with level 1 heroes?
Yeah.
How far have you played through on hard mode with fresh characters?
I think I got all the way to Sewers 02. I did on one playthrough lose like wave 4. I was doing a Squire Apprentice run through, and I lost on markets. So on wave 4 markets, I just kind of got overrun, and I kind of mismanaged where I was putting stuff, and I restarted and replayed, and then went back through, and then I did fine on Suizor 1. Waves 1 and 2 were like super rough. Like, I kept losing towers, but then eventually right around 3 it kind of equalized out as I kind of figured out what was coming down, and then Sewers 2 was super tough. Sewers 2 was pretty crazy. There was one lane that had I think it had Griblock come down, and then pretty much in the same time had an Ogre come, and it just decimated my defenses, and I had to fall back, and it was kind of it was a very fast death. So that's pretty far in. So. And
I think a great follow-up question to that is just like, there's 2 ways that we could develop difficulty modes. We can kind of stack them on top of each other, where you play through one and then play the other, or we create alternate paths. Can you explain kind of for everyone the design team's thinking about why we went with the alternate path, and then maybe in the future what types of things we're looking towards doing?
Sure. With the complete first and then kind of unlock the next difficulty, it's kind of a additive. It's kind of additive content. So it's more like, hey, you do it normal, then you have to do it on hard, then you have to do it on nightmare. We feel that's kind of limited. We want the experience to be, the difficulty experience to be something that players, some players identify as themselves as hardcore, or like, I am a hard player, and therefore, I always want to play on the hard experience. And so we feel like having just as it kind of as a slider, as an option, provides that opportunity that the former version does not. So that was kind of the real thinking there, was that we just kind of wanted to open it up and allow players to play the game how you want to. A big part of the strategy of DD2 is about figuring out which defenses you want to do, how are you placing, all these thoughts about what choices are you making personally as a player to make sure that something happens. I'm just kind of watching. I'm watching Butter. I'm panicking right now for Butter.
Give him some advice.
What's going on, man? Did you lose your cannonballs? Is that what happened?
I lost everything.
Okay. All right.
He's gonna have to do it again.
Yeah.
This is why I said we need the quick restart in hard, so you can just be like,
yeah.
Exit,
Well, I think
restart.
That whole experience, the unmatched experience, and that kind of stuff. We have a lot of opinions, designs, and stuff that's ready to go and being worked on for matchmaking. And so, like, a lot of this stuff is being iterated on. And so, we'll as stuff kind of gets ready to go, matchmaking and these kind of improvements are sort of non-trivial from an engineering standpoint. There's a lot of things we could break, which we would never want to do. So when they're ready, when they're tested and stuff like that, we kind of push that out to you guys.
So why don't you give him some advice on maybe some pro tips on how to set up?
Sure. If you want to kind of move your defenses back a little bit beyond the front game. I'm loving the look of Butter's giving me right now. So the way that I beat it with the Squire was I moved the cannonballs back towards the core, and then I used the Squire as sort of a blockade until I got my blockade tower. And so I would kind of run through, and by pushing the towers back, you're getting overlapping fields of fire, so you're increasing the kill zones. So kind of making sure that I believe from the beginning, I think you can place 6, so you might be able to place more. And then, let's see what your mana count.
We got turtle build. All right. I could turtle.
I mean, I turtle on this one, right? It's turtle.
To avoid the turtle.
There's no
There's no rules against turtling.
Yeah,
there's not.
There was almost something really bad that made it match, but luckily that didn't.
Yeah.
I thought we were against it, but it's cool.
We're okay. Hey,
I'm honest.
hey, we just had this really great conversation on the stream about how Dungeon Defenders 2 is about playing how you want and solving problems and strategy. And if beating map and beating town entrance 01 on hard is by turtling, then that's the optimal strategy. I definitely think that if you go an apprentice, you're going to want to reinforce that with cannonballs as well.
Yeah, the way I beat it was I actually
the other thing too.
Alternate. I made sure to put both cannonballs and fireballs spread throughout, and tried to stack more fireballs in the lanes that were physical resistant, more cannonballs in the lanes that were magic resistant.
Yeah.
That pretty much.
I think Butter's got it now.
I also had a monk. I was playing with 3 characters. Oh yeah. I used the monk's boost aura because when you're turtling, that one boost aura is like really powerful.
Well, especially for wave 1, putting the lightning auras right where the range goblins are going to sit is like that's the strategy. That's it. Because the thing that's going to beat your towers is going to be those range goblins, right? Because they have such a good little grenade that they're throwing and everything. Yeah. So.
And one of the other things I did, and I don't know how you can tell me how effective this is or not based on enemy AI, but I tried to actually keep like a certain line at which all of my defenses were behind. So that way for example, I think Butter kind of has these cannonball towers up here, and I was afraid that if I did that, the javelin throwers and stuff would stop out of the range of the fireball ones. So I tried to keep everything like in a semicircular lined up. Yeah,
there's definitely, once you create sort of a blockade or kind of a sort of a, I call it like a garrison line or your fortifying line, that definitely knowing what range enemies, because like for instance, when you're playing against a Draken line, that line changes and how you have to interact with the lane as well. That's actually a fantastic play, especially if you're playing with a fortified style. If you're kind of going more attrition, those lanes are much more about kind of whittling down as they go. Usually when I build an attrition lane, I have a lot of small attrition, so like I use like a huntress and I'll do like explosion traps and stuff like that, and maybe a PD tower or something like that. Just kind of like grab some dots and kind of whittle down, and then kind of at the very end of my attrition, I'll add a bunch of auras and like kind of stack damage and geyser traps. And so by the time they get to the geyser combo with the lightning aura or something like that, they're already whittled down. So that combo and that lightning aura just kind of really can kind of finish the job. And I use many more explosion traps and huntress abilities actually against the Drakons, because they're kind of resistant to magic.
That was actually the other thing that I found really helped as I was playing through some of hard mode, was just actually speccing out a DPS huntress, and then using her to pick off stuff like code balls and those sorts of things, and using her charge shot and her abilities, where I was like, oh man, I feel like there's a use for the DPS character now. I was like, actually, it would have been so much harder to defeat this without her. And I didn't necessarily feel like I was rushing around and being crazy. It just felt like I was like, there are certain things that I know that if I help take out with the DPS will very much
definitely be hitting one. Should definitely be hitting one to kind of slow you guys down and doing some stunning there. Hopefully Butter can hear me. There he goes. I mean, look how effective that is. If we're looking, right now we're kind of looking at it right now.
Good.
The core difference that I think players in general are going to see between hard mode and normal is that in normal mode, we like the idea that you could have an optimum defense strategy and you wouldn't need to necessarily be as involved with your towers. We're specifically targeting that you need to be fully engaged for hard mode, and that's going to increase as you get to Nightmare. And so like we're going to be taking feedback and polishing and tuning that kind of experience, but definitely for Nightmare we're going to be saying things like, not only are you going to need to have full engagement, but you'll also need to, it seems weird, it seems odd. I guess this is what, wave 1? Okay, yeah, you're almost there, man. You got it.
Yeah, you got 4 left.
You got it.
Just gotta take these guys out.
You got it. I personally think like,
he's gonna have to restart.
Yeah, well the delay on using the abilities was kind of, I think, the herder there. Definitely the full use. I'm not trying to pull. I feel like I'm throwing Butter under the bus, but definitely like full use. Yeah, I know Butter's a really awesome player.
I think one of the things long term that can really help the game probably is also finding ways for either the players, for you guys to create guides for other people.
Yes.
So like you kind of tell players what these optimal things are. And then us as like a development studio figuring out ways to expose those guides or other things to players in the game, because there's a lot of, I think even now in the game, there's a lot of strategy that's not necessarily apparent if you're just jumped into hard. And it can make people feel frustrated because you're like, oh, well, I thought I set it up perfectly and I died. And really, it's like, there's actually a large knowledge gap that existed that you didn't have. Like, I think one of the other things that I really like to do is to make sure that I use all of the CC abilities.
Yes,
right,
CC is critical.
But right as enemies come into the range of the defenses, because if they don't do that, then you're just like, you're kind of wasting the CC ability. I've seen a lot of people use the CC ability when they're already out there. And it's like, okay, that's like, you slowed them down, but like,
and that's. And that right there, what you're describing, is that really fine line of risk versus reward that hard mode is really trying to capitalize on. Like having that knowledge and knowing exactly where the optimum, because like for instance, the Cannonball Tower and the Flameburst Tower have the same range. However, because they're stacked depth-wise, you're going to, if you stun a character just inside, like for instance, where Butter's placing his Flameburst Towers, if the stun happens too deep in the lane, it might only get hit by that one Flameburst Tower. So you got to kind of balance, like, increase the risk a little bit more to your defenses to stun and CC things as they come into the other ranges. So it's really great. Actually, if Butter, if you could hit shift and just kind of show those kill zones, that'd be super awesome. Kind of look deeper into the lane. You can kind of see where, like kind of where where that triangle stops. Like, and that early part where that semicircle ends right there at the end with your targeting, with the defense targeting, that's that optimum kill zone thing. That's that optimum spot. And so with the geo, and what I try and do is I give myself like a geo point. I'm like, oh, it's the end of the fence, right? The end of the fence on the left side, and then it's actually the flowers on the right side. And that's exactly where I want to stun them, because then they have maximum overlapping. And the other thing too sometimes is as well, having, like, as you're collecting, the other trick that I also use, and this is something that may not be apparent, is as I get green mana during a match, I'll throw in another tower. So like it's not like for me, I'm not waiting for the next build phase. I'll just keep building, just keep adding that DPS into the experience, into the map.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, adding that, and then as soon as, of course, once you reach level 3 in this level, and that was one of the things that I was trying to do when I was doing a hard playthrough, was keep one character as my wave play character, so it'd be a little bit ahead, and that was my DPS character, so I could like use the upgrade and stuff earlier on in this level to experience having a gun. Yeah. So cool. So. Guys, it's going to be a lot of fun. If you guys have tips for Butter, please give him tips. We're going to be doing this for the next couple of weeks. I think we're all going to learn a lot, and I think both us on the show watching and you guys watching the show as well. So it's really exciting, and I'm glad that we finally have a mode in the game where it's like, okay, cool, can we do this? Can we beat it? Are you guys excited to watch and see if he can beat it or not? I hope you guys are.
I'm just like,
I'm excited. We haven't even started these questions yet because we can't stop talking about this and how he's going to succeed or not. So
it's really interesting. It's very subtle, and as we kind of get more enemy introductions and that kind of stuff, we're going to really refine what our new user experience is and how we're teaching the player the game, and so. Also, like any guides and stuff like that kind of come out on the forums that are like, hey, this is a mechanic. Like for instance, I recently found out about a really interesting blockade mechanic and how that can you can use it depending on line of sight pulls to kind of pull enemies around a corner or pull certain things in different areas that was actually a dynamic that I hadn't even considered. And I was like, wow, that's a really interesting use of that tower.
And I think some of the fun stuff is, when you guys in the community, because sometimes we may not find these things.
Yes.
We may have, done the AI in a certain, and that's sometimes when games are really good, like you set up the AI in one way, you have one set of intentions, and this other kind of layer.
Like an emergent play.
Exactly, happens, and then that's the kind of stuff that I would love to see us, emphasize. It's like, okay, cool, that's a cool strategy. It's not like, let's get rid of it.
Yeah.
Let's make that a thing. If people like doing this, let's tell people in the game that, hey, you can draw people's line of sights with blockades and use it for this way and stuff.
There we go. This is it.
Yeah. Oh.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And those dragons, you definitely gotta get in front of them.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is kobolds. Kobolds are incredibly vicious in this mode, in hard mode. We found that if there was like a kobold rep talking to the trendy devs, like for normal mode, they were like,
God.
man, my kobolds can never get their job done. They had like a union strike. You know what I'm saying? Oh no, Butter.
Oh,
well, I think it's the other thing too is like as we were saying, there's kind of been a little bit of a split experience, so no one hero has kind of gotten there, and that's fine. Yeah. It's fine, just kind of a little thing.
Well, yeah, and I actually think, and this is maybe just me being cheap, but I think that it really helps, like you did before, to have a ranged character and play the ranged character during the phase as either a monk or a huntress, just because you need to pick out that that kobold or that dragon. And also, you need to be still standing where your turtle formation is, so you can use your abilities. So it's
concussion shot.
If you run out as a squire into a lane, like you saw Butter just did, by the time he got back, he was already screwed.
Yep.
So
it's
trying to get that blockade.
For the first map, it's definitely and this is kind of the one fear that we have is is that because we've made the choice to allow it be a multiplier rather than kind of like a beat normal then beat hard, and we can still iterate on these kind of things. Like for the early experience, new players can come in and be like, wow, this game is incredibly difficult. And we hope that they take that in stride and kind of like, oh, it's incredibly difficult. Maybe I should learn a little bit more about the mechanics, play normal, level up a bit, and then kind of come back to hard.
Maybe we need a little message that's like, warning, this is for pro players only.
Yeah.
Maybe, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
What is it? I think Josh is telling everyone on the chat that he wants to come in and help you.
Oh, well, thanks, Josh. What took you so long, buddy?
Playing with buddies.
Yeah. So does that mean you're waiting for him?
I mean, I've been waiting for him.
Oh, man. You heard that, Josh? It's a challenge.
There he is.
There we go. See, now the thing is now, Josh, if you guys lose, it's your fault.
There we go. Shift the blame, right?
No, it's totally shifted now. So, And in fact, I think he actually put the fault on you a little bit before too, since you were here.
My single suggestion, since you are doing multiple heroes in your playthrough, would be limit the flame burst. So the flame burst actually has a higher DU cost than the cannonball tower. So if you're leveling them both, you can actually get more DPS out of focusing specifically along the lines of having like I'm just putting cannonball towers down over having like a mix, and you were overcharging. For instance, having two flame bursts is, I believe, 80, and then versus 2 cannonballs will be 60. And then if you think about the total cost,
so you get to get a couple more.
Yeah, you can eventually squeeze out an extra cannonball tower. And so, and it's not, and specifically for the early map, like actually up until about sewers 1, actually probably into ruins, maximizing your DU spend, you know, being able to make those hard choices and understanding that, you know, the flame burst tower is meant to counter the physical, but maybe once an orc comes down the lane, maybe I just need to get in front of it and allow, even though it takes longer, allow the cannonball just those few extra seconds, those few extra shots, because the extra cannonball tower will probably add more outgoing DPS than countering it with a flame burst tower. And that's the stuff that's super hidden, right? And so we actually do have, and I'm not really spoiling too much, we're revisiting how those counters go. We actually talked a little bit about it during Foundation 1, so it's not actually a spoiler at all, now I'm remembering. So we're having these tags, right? So there'll be the heavy tag, and there'll be a horde tag, and that kind of stuff that the enemy has. The resistance will still play a part, but that will be much more wider kind of later on into the campaign. So early on it'll be, if I use a horde weapon, you're going to get a damage bonus against horde enemies. If I use an anti-heavy weapon, you're going to get a bonus against heavy enemies. And so that kind of experience will make this better because you'll be reinforcing those lane builds. I definitely do think you should probably put 1 or 2, either some flame bursts or maximizing the lightning auras, and put some things like deep into the lane where we know, especially where the Draken is, like even just that little bit of extra DU to kind of reduce its effective DPS will definitely help.
Is Josh not going to help building at all? I want to know what the delay is between, you know, him hearing us make fun of him on the stream and him playing. So cool. Well, let's let them build for a little bit.
Okay, that sounds good.
That
sounds good. I'm mesmerized. I kind of want to see what's happening.
I know, it's exciting. I'm glad. I think it'll be exciting for the next month while we do this too. And with all there's a lot of really cool art stuff lined up for you guys to watch. I've scheduled it out so people are working on cool art while we're doing the stream. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. You're going to see a lot of cool stuff. So this one's from Valhalla Awaits, which is when can we get a quit the desktop feature?
I believe this one's on the list as it is. I would have to go check, and we'll follow up in the features. We identified this a bit ago. We have a consistent victim of scope, and so this one's that. This one's one of those. We're kind of investigating this. It's definitely on our top, like, hey, community feedback requests, and something that we want to add in. I do know that, like, you can, if you just need to quit the desktop, you can actually just kind of alt-tab, like alt-shift out, and then kind of like click on the X, and that just kind of works. But it is a workaround. Yeah.
So the next one is from Gigazel, which is, why did you opt to go with 25+++ instead of increasing the level?
So Giga and others, 25+++, I believe this is a reference to Incursion. And so we knew that Incursion was going to kind of be the last plus as we hit there. And so basically what the Incursion layer will transform into, because we're going to kind of keep pursuing these incursions as we move forward, is that that's going to be sort of this top end game mode layer where you'll pick the game mode kind of playlist, and then that will like include incursions and some other game modes that are yet to be named that we're kind of working on. And so that was the choice for there. And so part of the technical reasons for the plus and the plus plus is that our system requires that there are new playlists, and 25 an incursion and 25++ is a reference to a playlist. Requires that a new playlist is created in order to increase the enemy levels, which is one of our large, actually the complexity rating, which are two ways that which, like for instance, the lane rollout, what's coming down the lane and the level of those creatures. Those are done sort of on a wide swath, like wide strokes basis in a playlist. So that way we can release 10 maps at this specific difficulty. That's the specific reason for why we went with Incursion as 25+++, and then Campaign, etc., etc.
Cool. Next question. So this is from Sinister, and he wants to know, I'd like to personally thank Josh and Trendy J for enjoying some of the suggestions I've created over the last couple of months. I'm departing, but before leaving, I want to know how passionate you guys are in creating DD2. Does influence votes have any impactful decisions? Are you guys happy with the way DD2 is currently?
You're welcome, and thank you for saying so. Sinistar, some of your stuff was absolutely amazing, and definitely like super high quality as well. Please keep that up in your hobby or professional, whatever that happens to be. And definitely for those other game dev aspirants out there, take a look at take a look at his documents on the suggestions forum. They're actually very well done. So how passionate are we? Tremendously. I know we have so many people in the office that put in so much time. I know I go home and and Brad constantly asks, how do I find the time to read the forums? Well, I go home and I read the forums after my 8 hours of work. And then actually most nights I actually work with Josh on community feedback. So I guess we just work a lot, and the passion is incredibly high. We have a lot of people that have invested a tremendous amount of time and effort into making these visuals. Exactly. So passion is incredibly high. That is something that you will see in general across the games industry, and it is definitely not unique to Trendy. However, the specific question of how are you passionate about creating DD2? I think everybody loves this game. We get amazed every time I go into the art room. I get amazed at what's coming down the pipeline. It's incredibly fascinating, and we definitely feed each other. And that definitely helps the passion increase. And the final, sorry, not the final, but a couple other points. Influence votes. We pay attention to the influence votes 100%. They are impactful. We do have a new one coming out that is going to be much more systemic, similar to the daily missions vote in the past. So there'll be, we talked about this in a previous influence report about how we definitely wanted more impactful decisions, and that comes directly from designing that vote. And then finally, I am definitely happy with the direction that Dungeons & Defenders 2 is going. I always want more time every milestone. I always want more time every patch to put more in. And so if I have any regret, it's because I couldn't get something that I was working on immediately or some sort of improvement in front of you guys sooner. But I am definitely happy with I'm satisfied with where it sits. And there's that actual saying in the industry that games are never really finished. They're sort of just shipped. And so I definitely treat each patch and milestone like that.
Perfect. All right. Thank you for answering the question. This is the end of Trendy J for today. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Sweet. And now we're swapping out with Daniel Haddad, who is our creative director on the design side. Say hi to everyone.
Hello, Defenders.
Hey. So I'm going to brief Haddad on what we're doing right now. So what we're attempting to do is that for the next couple of weeks, as we start to reveal stuff about the next patch and go over feedback from this patch, I Pass Butter and I guess I Am Isom are actually going to be playing hard mode with fresh characters from scratch to kind of show people the alternate progression. So half of what we do is going to be answering these questions. We're going to try to get through a lot of them. Also, what we're going to be trying to do is just kind of comment on how they're playing hard mode and any tips and pointers that you have, any feelings you have about hard mode. So we'll see. Right now, I actually want to kind of reiterate the last question that Trendy J answered before he left, which was that Sinistar wanted to personally thank us for kind of looking at his suggestions, and he wanted to know how passionate the team is for creating DD2. Do the influence votes have any impactful decisions, and are we happy with the way the game is currently?
Well, we are pretty passionate about the project. I think that is unanimous across the entire team. So our influence votes, we're experimenting a lot with them. We feel they're pretty impactful, but we're looking into ways to actually make them even more impactful because we want to involve you guys in a much better and bigger way going forward. How happy are we with DD2 currently? I guess the answer to that fluctuates a lot. Because we're so critical and so passionate about the project that we're doing, there's a lot of us that want to see more and want to see a lot of things improved, and some people are actually quite entertained and pleased. Like the artists always want to like tweak a little asset in there and make it look a little better. On the design team, we're always a little hypercritical and we want even more things in there, and we want the gameplay a lot more entertaining. So it varies, the answer to that one.
So still a lot of work to do.
Oh yeah.
But happy where it's come from before.
Yep.
So yeah, and I think that's a great question to maybe ask us kind of every patch, and we can kind of, I would love for us to be able to give them a frank update on Actually, let's do that right now. So this patch, what are like the 3 most successful things that you think we did in this patch, and the 3 least successful things?
Most successful, we were kind of looking into ways to add hard mode. It was not a thing that we had planned. It was like, hey guys, we know you're busy. If you have the time, try to figure something out. The team kind of rallied together and we figured out how to deliver something that could conceivably be hard mode. So I think that was a success because it was not planned and we got something up there. That said, the reward scheme for that, as we iterated many times so far, it's still heavily a work in progress. A minor failure, we couldn't get, due to kind of some time constraint, we couldn't get to a lot of the things that we want to in terms of balancing. I know I personally wanted, and the entire design team honestly wanted to fix a lot of the things that were broken with special stats. We didn't get around to that just because of the amount of work that we had to do, and that is something honestly we're currently working on right now.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, those I'd say are some of the big.
Cool. So we have big success was actually getting a hard mode in. Failure was the rewards for hard mode need to be better. Another failure was not getting to touch all special stats. Was another success though. Another thing that we really like from this patch. Sell all button.
Oh yes, that is honestly thanks to you guys. We weren't planning on doing it anytime soon. We were all really, really eager to get it in, and it was thanks to all you guys being vocal about it that we bumped up its priority. So, if there are other things in there that you guys want to see bumped up, just feel free to keep commenting on the forums and telling us and engaging with Josh Eisman about all that stuff.
So we have someone from the comments here, and he's saying that. So Jala 24 is like, I think this game should be a little bit easier at lower levels. It's not really fun for new players if you're getting racked at level 1. For example, Wyverns get introduced at level 1, which is strange. It's hard mode, normal is easy. So but he's talking about normal. So I don't think Wyverns are in the first level normal mode, right?
Yeah, I don't think they are. They might be introduced maybe in a different map. I'm not sure what.
Yeah.
If he wants to clarify a little bit on that, we can better answer it. But I can comment when it comes to difficulty. That is something we are still heavily experimenting with. We were not very happy with how easy normal was for players that are coming back, that players who kind of understand the game. That's what we were hoping to do with hard mode, where you're a veteran player, you know kind of what you're doing, you want a different challenge. Maybe you're leveling a different hero and you want a different experience, and that was what hard mode's about. But that said, we're still very heavily observing what you guys think about that, and we're going to tweak it from there.
And I think, just like we kind of did a hard mode on top of everything, there's also potential to do an easy mode or something as well.
Yeah.
So it's very challenging, especially when the game becomes free to play and there's such a wide audience. Who knows where people are going to fall on the spectrum of knowing how to play or not.
Something we're always kind of thinking about is people who play with their kids, people who play with their families. While a lot of us internally are kind of very hardcore
gamers.
Yeah, honestly, Jay, even though he is that type of gamer, he's a guy with a family, and he's kind of that voice that's like, hey, I want to play this game with my daughter. This might be a little too overwhelming for her. So easy mode, things that are a little easier, more digestible, are definitely things we're thinking about.
Yeah. I think those are things that I think everyone would love to see. So guys, if you have questions in the comments, please ask them. If you want to comment on anything we're saying and want us to respond to them, please say it. And in the meantime, we're going to be going through some of these questions here.
All right.
So let's see. So Sinister wants to know, what is next to be implemented in the game from the roadmap features list besides pets?
Interesting.
We haven't revealed anything yet.
Yeah, we haven't revealed anything yet.
Maybe if you just want to hint at, or what are some of the things that you think are most important to kind of go?
Most important thing that we're kind of focusing on are a couple of really key aspects. One is we're really focusing, you kind of saw that already, on making your builds matter, making your choices matter in how you customize your hero. So we're doing a lot of work, we can't say exactly what yet, on actually introducing some cool new systems or some improvements that will really drive that home. Also, we're focusing a lot on the idea of retention. We have a lot of cool things in the game already. We want to add, we're going to give you guys excuses to come back and play more and really digest the content.
Not excuses.
Oh, my bad. Yes, reasons.
Okay.
Poor choice of words there.
So I think that was a great response to that question. So here we have a question from Gutu, who wants to know, will there be a way for early access members to join this is one for me, to join the council, through contests and such, or is the council's door closed for good? I think we'll definitely reopen it at some point. I don't know where that is. It'll probably be a lot more expensive than it was when it first came out. So yeah, that's something we're looking into doing for sure. So we'll see where that program evolves. And I think there's counselor forums that's just a little bit active. But if you guys want to go in there, the people who are counselors, and kind of talk about when you'd like to see new counselors in and ways you want that program to evolve, those are things that Josh and I would love to hear. All right, so we have a question here, which is from Yui, who wants to know, is it possible to remove the dull grayed out item effect in the temporary item bag? It is very difficult to see the quality of the items.
Right. In the temporary item bag, we have a lot planned for the temporary item bag. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, something we're kind of always focusing on is the readability of things in your inventory, because it's such a core thing. You're going to be interacting with this thing so many times while you're playing. So yeah, we have a lot of things planned for the temporary item box that we'll be excited to kind of share with you guys. And readability is certainly on our radar for things for the inventory.
Perfect. All right, the next question is actually from Batophobia, who wants to know, what's the deal with the codex? Are all the entries able to be dropped? Man, we get this one every time.
They should be able to be dropped, but there might be some bugs in there that are preventing certain entries from dropping. Just because I kind of harken on this a lot, we have kind of a priority stack of things that we get to, and the codex thing might not be super high up there, but if you guys care enough about it, we'll bump it up there and see what's going on with that bug specifically.
Perfect. So the next question is from Sarah Nako, and she wants to know, when will the full lore come, and can you tell us something about it?
You will see something quite soon, a kind of sample. As for the full lore, I know Danny, the other creative director, that's something he's actively working on. The entire team's kind of involved. We're all kind of passionate because we love the world of Ethereum. We love all these characters. We want to be able to tell like all their stories and share all this stuff with you. So it's to come. There are some things on the horizon that we'll be introducing to you guys, and we'll see how you guys react to it, but we'll take it from there.
Fantastic. So the next question is from Squat, who wants to know, are you going to release Endless Mode soon? It seems like the only thing that satisfies endgame players. I know it isn't realistic to ask for this the day after a new patch. So.
It's completely realistic to ask for it, and I will say that yesterday I was in a meeting where we were discussing Endless Mode, so it might make its way to you guys in the coming few months, potentially, hopefully.
Yeah. So that's definitely something that we want to focus on. It's just a question of when. And I think one of the things, and we love your guys' opinion on it too, is that we always balance is there's a lot of stuff that we know we need to put in the game just to make the early game better and more fun. There's also a lot of you, probably most of you on the stream, who are way past the early game and are into 50, 100, 200 hours in the late game, and it's kind of a balancing act over whether we focus on adding late game features or really bring the early game up to where we want it to be.
Yep.
So the next question is from Hey It's Pie, who wants to know, will there be an upcoming patch so that computers with lower graphics can play smoother and easier?
I'm not entirely sure about that. I'll have to actually look into it. So yeah.
Yeah, so Josh, that's something that you can remind us to look into. I know a couple people I've been talking to Talon on Steam who have issues with it. I know there was a patch we did a while ago that kind of inadvertently upped the system requirements a little bit. Not up from where they actually are on the Steam page, so still if you have those requirements on the Steam page you can play, but if you have below them you can't. So that's something that we're looking into. So perfect. All right. Next question. The next question is from HPTS or HPT Sparky, who wants to know, will items left on the ground in a map auto-sell like they did in DD1, or is the sell all button replacing this feature?
It's not meant to replace that feature, but we are still figuring out how to introduce that into the game. So it was actually something that we also talked about maybe a week ago about putting that in, how will it fit, and things along those lines.
Perfect. We just had a suggestion here, which I'd love to know your thoughts of from Kraith. It's pretty long, and I know you've been playing a lot of D3 in the new season, where he asked, what are our thoughts on basically instead of increasing the quality of loot drops that drops over difficulty modes, increase the frequency of like the rarest drops that can drop. So like not like bumping the max, but just making the max more common to get.
Yeah. We talk a lot about that. There are kind of two aspects to it I want to reply to. When it comes to our progression, we're always kind of careful. We're still developing the game, so that's something to keep in mind. So your current endgame is not the perceived endgame for like 1.0 for DD2. But when it comes to the way we structure loot, we always talk about like the inverted pyramid structure, where early game loot, you kind of replace it early. There's not much diversity there. But when you get to the end game loot, there's a lot of like lateral progression where It's not just about the numbers, but it's kind of how you build your hero and what kind of special stats you want. How is it going to combine with your specs and things along those lines. And as for the second part that I want to address, which is increasing the drop rate, yes, that was something we were considering. Maybe doing it in a different and unique way, which I can't talk about yet, but that is certainly something we're thinking about.
Cool. And I think, I just want to comment that I love that we've gone from everyone saying Diablo 3 is horrible to now everyone asking us on the stream, can you please make the loot drop like Diablo? Diablo 3, that's just a testament to how good of a job they did in fixing that game from its release. So here's some great questions. Ramster versus Meeber, what's the winner?
I don't know who the winner
This
is.
is also from HPT Spark.
Ramster.
My vote would be for Ramster as well.
I think internally it's Ramster, so I think that's what we're going to stick to. But we do really like the phrase Meeber. It's really hilarious.
Maybe there'll be something else we call Meeber in the
maybe
future.
there will be. Yeah. So this is awesome. So look, so the second Josh joined, he just kind of carried I Pass Butter. Just kidding.
That's actually not what happened. No.
I don't know if they can hear you, man. You're not close enough to the microphone.
He's saying that, yes, he was carried, naturally.
Yeah, he was saying that he totally agrees.
Wow.
But yeah, awesome. So you guys are seeing here. So this is some serious teamwork to get through hard mode, which is really nice and kind of what it looks like. This is actually something that I wasn't brave enough to do. They're using the main core to tank the damage. Let's see if they can survive the end of this rush. Every time I try to do it with everything behind the main core, I'd get like so close to beating the fifth wave of this, but then I would just like mess up. So I had to build some barricades, do the same kind of setup, to build some barricades in front of it just to take some of the damage away. Let's see, this is exciting. 37 enemies left.
Yeah.
As long as he picks out all the kobolds, I think.
This is actually a good example of some of the things that we kind of target with the hard mode, where in normal that might have been a very good and very viable strategy that left you a very wide margin for error. But if you want to execute it in hard mode, you're going to have to, that margin for error is a lot slimmer. So your potential to win using the strategy might not be as
If
successful.
those two dragons get up there.
Yeah.
We'll see. Oh, I think they did it.
Yeah, I think they made it.
Sweet. You ready for level 2?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. Oh man, we might get through. I think we'll probably only get through one level and just start level 2, and then we'll pick up next stream actually playing level 2. So perfect. All right. So we have a question here. Will voice chat be implemented?
We get this asked quite often. It is not currently planned on our big ticket items for a game. There's a lot of the third-party software that's out there that you guys can use in order to use chatting. But in the future, the far future, if it's something you guys really, really are passionate about and really want to use, then that's potentially might place it on our roadmap.
Perfect. And we have a question from the comments, which is from X-Dragon Hater X. He's actually discussing it with someone who, Astrocytic, which they want to know about. The question originated from Astrocytic. Which is, will weapons determine attack speed or not?
That's something we're still looking into, and that is the attack speed thing on heroes. We're still heavily looking into that because we really want there to be diversity in the weapons that you have, so that when you pick up a weapon, it kind of changes the way you play. Your minute-to-minute gameplay changes. For attack speed specifically, I'm not sure if that'll be tied to weapons or to something else. That is something we're still investigating.
Perfect. All right, next question. This one is from Dagnum, who wants to know, besides the Caster Guild, does Trendy have any upcoming ideas to really promote DD2 outside of the forum community, or is development a higher priority? How can the non-streaming community also, for me, help you in that endeavor? Also, can we expect to see a big DD2 presence at PAX or other gaming events this year? So I think, we kind of did a lot of promotion around the launch of the game in early access with being on the Game Awards show and being at PAX East last year and being at PAX South. So that was kind of our kickoff into the launch of the game. Now we're really going to be focused on you guys and on streaming and YouTube, and it's really a balance in that the focus is on development of the game and the marketing calendar is really pegged to development. So we're kind of and we want to know your guys' opinion too. When is the game really ready for that spread? When do we want people on YouTube to really start playing it? There's so much more we want to build in the game, and it's kind of our baby. So it's we don't want to let it out of the gate too soon. But if you guys are really passionate about it and you're like, man, this thing is ready and I want to see a lot more players in the game, that's something that we'd like you to tell us and help us with. And I think there's a lot of ways. One of the ways that you guys can help is asking some of the big guys to stream the game. So if you're a big fan of a YouTuber or a streamer and you want to see them play the game, getting them interested in it is a fantastic way to do that. And then also just kind of like streaming and playing it yourself too is really helpful. So, and telling your friends and getting your friends to buy it and getting your friends to play as well. That's one of the reasons why now you can basically power level people.
Yeah.
So if you're the end game, you can with this patch you can finally bring a friend on who hasn't played and get them caught up, and they can be helping you farm some legendary stuff and giving us feedback on early access as we play through it. So that's an awesome question. So thank you. We have a question from Deladia here, which is any wipe planned? And if not, will it be worn long ahead of time if there's a pre-release wipe planned?
We're really hoping to avoid wipes as much as possible. That is still our current plan, our current goal. Right now, there's nothing on our radar that jumps out and says this will require a wipe, and we are hoping to keep it that way, but that might change. I know for a fact that if we plan to have a wipe, we'll message it well ahead of time and explain to you why that is. And maybe it might just be a localized wipe where we tell you, hey, we're changing some of your stats or some of your items might be re-rolled or things along those lines.
Mm-hmm. And I think one of the other things that we're really talking about doing as well is I know a lot of people are very opinionated in the community on whether we should do a release once do a very targeted wipe at a certain point in time when the game goes out wider to be fair to other players. And like we say in the Steam description, that's not something we have planned, but if it's something that people really want, we'd love to kind of find out people's opinions, and it's something that we can certainly do.
Yep.
All right, so we have a question here, which is from Omamba, who wants to know, will you ever release a map difficulty that is probably impossible to complete just to see if players can find a way to beat it, either legitimately or through some previously unknown exploit? It would be so much fun to try.
Yeah, certainly yes. Even though the discussions for endless mode are still very much in the works, but we were having a design meeting, we were discussing endless mode, and there were two camps. One side was like, no, there has to be a very definitive end and then players can beat it. And another camp was saying like, no, there wouldn't be a definitive end. It'll be like a kind of soft cap where we predict, hey, beyond this point, at this current level in the game, it's kind of impossible for players to get past it. And the reason why we were kind of passionate about that and fighting for that was because we wanted you guys to, like, we say, hey, for example, endless level 25, wave 25 is impossible to beat, and then we see like 2 or 3 people get to wave 27, and then it's our job to like one up you guys, and then you guys one up us, and that's a cool interaction.
That's what's really exciting, and I think we'd love your guys' opinion on that too. I know, flashback to DD1. Oh man, I don't know if I should. So what was really funny is there were crashes on certain things after certain waves in endless mode. But the way endless mode worked in DD1, it took days to get to those things. And in all of our testing before the game came out, we're like, there's no way, like it's impossible that people can do this. But obviously people did. People clearly passed our expectations, and I think that was something that was really fun for the community, even though it caused a couple issues with the game. So we have another question for Omamba, who is, are there plans to add more primary stats on gear, or is what we have now all that is planned?
We have a pass planned very shortly where we're going to re-examine stats in our game and how that kind of ecosystem works and how stats are generated. We don't currently have any plans to add anything new, but as part of that goal, as we work through it, who knows what might happen, and obviously you guys will find out all about that as we continue working on it.
Awesome. Next question from Deladia, which is, how close are we to emotes?
Closer than we were before.
Yes, it's definitely closer than we were before. So something that the animators were working on. I think they paused that to work on some other more exciting stuff. So great question. So In Session wants to know, will maps ever get larger with more unpredictable lane movements once your smart system comes in, or will mobs always walk in a linear line to their death? Will we be seeing more complex map creation?
Obviously, we plan to have some more interesting and more intricate interactions between enemies, the map, and the player. How we execute on that will likely depend. Maybe, you kind of right now see how the lanes kind of shift between magical and physical resistance, which is kind of a glimpse at how adaptable and how different the maps might be in the future. Yeah, certainly.
So the next question is from in session as well, who wants to know, have you considered, aside from a spec tree, to actually have each tower and ability have a spec tree of their own, with maybe more possibilities for different combo effects or elemental effects, giving each class more options?
I would say stay tuned. That is, yeah, just stay tuned. We're actually doing a lot of work on that system currently, and we'll see what ends up with it.
Perfect. The next question is from Dragon Hater, who wants to know, will there be crafting in DD2 like in DDE? Beast Gear should be craftable, but you shouldn't be able to craft it more than one time. But that should be a really low percentage chance. And a suggestion, you should give DD2 to some famous YouTubers like the Yogscast and streamers to play it. You might get more followers.
Interesting.
So you answer the first
I'll
part,
answer the crafting system. For the crafting system, we talk about that a lot internally, especially when we were in the run-up to item enhancement, like that sort of system would look like. There are like prototypes or plans or like ideas we have for a sort of crafting system, but it's still roughly just an idea. It'll largely depend on what we feel the game really needs and how a crafting system would play into that.
Mm-hmm. So I'll answer the second part of the question. We definitely can't give this to those big streamers now until we have a message on hard telling them not to start their match. Just imagine the frustration that these guys are facing when they're playing. Although it looks like they're going to be way true to this. But like I said, if you guys want to see them stream the game, then please let them know. Mm-hmm. You know, we're not trying to be passive in so far as that we're not going to reach out to them on our own. We clearly are. But you know, the thing that drives, I think we talked to some streamers today, you know, the thing that drives streamers playing game is demand for the game to be watched. So obviously we have stuff to, and it's a testament to how much the industry has changed since we released the first game, to how many of these questions are related to people wanting streamers to play the game. Right. So you know, we were just talking earlier today about maybe getting on the call with some bigger YouTubers and streamers, and we know some ways on our own, but the game really has to be more exciting for streamers to play before we force it. Yeah. And so if you guys there's two ways to get streamers to play the game. One, if you guys demand it enough and you guys are on Twitch watching people play the game, then they're going to play it in its current state. You know, if not, then really it's on our end to make the game more interesting for streamers to play. And I think we have some ideas of how to do that, but I keep telling people internally, and I think everyone kind of agrees. And if you guys mention this on the forums and the surveys and stuff, it'll help too. Is if streaming is a big part of how you consume gaming, like let us know, because we'll emphasize it more than we were even planning to before. So Thank you for that question. So Glazzy wants to know, will we be able to reroll one stat on an item much like in D3? Nothing more annoying than finding a decent item that has one stat you don't want.
Yes, that is incredibly annoying. That is something we are looking into. That is something honestly that we have planned. Very soon, I guess I can kind of talk about it. We're planning to introduce that system first to pets and see how you guys interact with it in pets. And if you guys really like it and it's a success, then we'll carry it over to items and stats.
Is this something that actually you saw Enrique drawing some of on the last stream? I actually have a question for you about that, which you didn't answer on Skype today, which is, so like, how will it work? Will it work like D3 where you like see what the results are and then you get to say keep or not? Or
right now the plan is there's 4 types of reroll items. Each one rerolls a different aspect of the pet currently.
Don't say what those aspects are.
I won't say what those aspects are. Don't worry about it. But basically, it won't let you pick or choose between them. It'll just like reroll the value and show it to you. And the idea is it'll be a little more accessible than it is in D3. But
you get to choose whether you get the new value.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because I started to get scared earlier today, and I was like, what if I reroll X thing? There's some really exciting stuff with pets, and I was like, again, I get something I didn't want. I have to do it again over and over. So
actually, no, it's a risk reward, and you have to figure out.
Yeah, I was like, I just want to check and find out for my own sake. All right. So, so we're close to the end of the stream. We probably have time for 3 more questions. So if you guys have any questions from the comments, please give it. Like, you got a sneak peek at pets early, which is awesome. So we have a question here from Glazzy again, which is, will you plan on making armor sets for each class that give bonuses based on the number of parts? Each class could have 2 sets, one benefiting DPS and the other benefiting tower abilities. Example, Mage DPS could have a bonus that says, when enemies fall to the ground after being thrown into the air by the twister, their legs are damaged, slowing movement speed for 10 seconds. Very specific.
Yeah. As we kind of talked about, diversity and customizations are really, really big things we want to achieve in Dungeon Defenders 2. And we were, like a couple of weeks ago, just talking about armor sets within Dungeon Defenders to like what sort of armor sets could exist, or set items in general. Maybe that it's not just restricted to armor. So it is something that we are thinking through, but we're kind of designing out now. So yeah, eventually it'll make its way to you guys, but not in the short term, maybe a little after that.
Mm-hmm. So we have another question here. This is from Ace Wolf 456, and he wants to know, and I apologize if I ever get anyone's gender wrong. It's pretty much impossible to tell from the thing, so I just alternate he and she regardless, which is, will you get to see your movement speed stat? Because he has boots that increases movement speed.
Yes, there are boots that increase movement speed, and we know that there's kind of no way to tell what your movement speed is, so eventually we intend to expose that stat in a clean and understandable manner.
So yes, eventually you will.
Yes.
It's Pandatory, it's an awesome name, wants to know, could we get a scalable difficulty setting? It seems the map difficulty is adjusted primarily through enemy levels at this point, so the option to increase the monster level plus 1, 2, 3 up to 25 would be interesting. You talked in Devstream 10 about wanting to get the hard mode difficulty balanced. Watching metrics of the difficulty could show you where the player base is strengthened.
Mm-hmm. When we were kind of thinking about difficulty in DD2, when it comes to that, there was obviously conversations about making different preset difficulties, but we are also talking about giving ways to, you know, have you guys, you know, bring in additional modifiers into the game that'll make it purposefully harder for you guys. And if you win it under those circumstances, it'll, you know, either be reward you better or things like that. That said, it's still kind of in the, you know, early design stages, but yeah, I mean, we're talking about it certainly.
Mm-hmm. So thank you guys. I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to go through all the questions. We'll try to wrap up some of these on the forums or online next time. I hope you guys enjoyed us kind of talking about and playing hard mode, so please let us know what you think in the comments or on the forums, and we will continue this hard mode adventure next week. I think we'll start again at wave 1 on this map, right buddy? Alright, perfect. Thanks guys.